Welcome to the Life of a Diplomat. I am Ainur Mengali. Today we have a guest who once had a fascination with astronomy, but it was the interest in current affairs and foreign policy that ultimately led him to a career in diplomacy. He now represents his country across Central Asia with a particular focus in fostering people-to-people ties. Joining me today is His Excellency Nico Schermers, the ambassador of the Kingdom of Netherlands to Kazakhstan. Let's begin.
That means that we can function much more as a regional hub and work together with Kazakhstan. No, I'm very glad, and that makes my life very easy. There's a lot to be gained, but we don't have many battles to fight. When I started as a student, I started to study astronomy. I had a hobby to watch the stars. Whenever I'm back in the Netherlands,
yes, exactly.
Then I'm your Kazakh ambassador in the Netherlands as well. We camped in a yurt last year.
Oh, wow.
So
how was that experience?
Fantastic. Aral Sea, which was really impressive to me. Then I started to realize how big this area is. We want to expand our cooperation. We think that Kazakhstan has a lot of potential in that area, and we have a lot of knowledge, and the combination will be very strong.
Hello, the ambassador.
Hello, good to see you.
Yes, good
Welcome.
to see you too.
Welcome
Thank
to
you,
my residence.
and welcome to our program, Life of Diplomats. Hope we will have very interesting discussions today. Almaty or Astana?
Astana to work and to live, but Almaty for leisure.
Bishbarmak or Kurdak?
Bishbarmak.
The main similarity between Kazakhstan and the Netherlands?
We're both nomads, sea nomads and land nomads.
The main difference between Kazakhstan and the Netherlands?
You are big in terms of geography, we are very small.
First impression of Kazakhstan?
Cold.
Bicycle or car?
Bicycle.
Stroopwafel or boursak?
Stroopwafel.
King's Day or Nauris?
Both.
Football or kokpar?
Football.
Windy fields or endless steppe?
Both.
Amsterdam canals or Almaty mountains?
The mountains.
Let's start our discussion today with more formal tone. Let us discuss more in depth the cooperation and the dynamics in relations between the Netherlands and Kazakhstan. What areas of cooperation stands out most?
Looking at the cooperation between Kazakhstan and the Netherlands, I think in the past year, water cooperation stood out most. You had the floods last year. The Netherlands participated or supplied with some experts in the days after the floods. And after that, we started, an intensive cooperation with Kazakhstan, with the various ministries to work on flood management. After that, I think, or besides that, I also would like to flag agricultural cooperation. In the field of agriculture, we have done a lot as well. It's mainly in the field of greenhouses. The Netherlands has a lot of capacity and knowledge in that area, but we hope that we can work on the entire chain. We want to expand our cooperation. We think that Kazakhstan has a lot of potential in that area, and we have a lot of knowledge, and the combination will be very strong.
Now, let's talk more about Kazakhstan. And so what have you discovered here so far? What have you explored so far? And what struck your attention?
Well, first of all, let me say that I did not explore enough yet.
Enough yet? Okay.
Yes, because your country is so enormous. Compared to my own country, every province in Kazakhstan is 5 times as big as my entire country. So that means
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you have to drive a lot, you have to fly a lot, and that is what I still need to do. But having said that, I've been to many places already. I've been in Atirau and Aktau, in Aktobe, in
The western
Kostanay,
part,
the western
Central.
part, but also in the southern part. Next week I'm going to Turkestan.
Oh yes, please visit. Yes, it's must go.
Exactly. And last year, for instance, we visited with the EU ambassadors and organized by the Foreign Ministry, Kizilorda and the Aral Sea, which was really impressive to me. That then I started to realize how big this area is and how big the impact is of the natural disaster.
And how important is the cooperation in water management for this region and for this country.
This summer we intend to go to Altai to see a little bit more of the east side.
Eastern part.
Yeah, the northeastern part.
Northeastern, yes,
that
exactly.
We have been advised that is a very beautiful place. But I also need to go back to the west and to see the deserts in western Kazakhstan, and we need to go back to the south to Shymkent and those places. So, and Almaty, of course, as well. We went to Almaty a couple of times, but there's so much more to see.
Yes, Kazakhstan is indeed a very big country, and all the cities you've mentioned, they have their own atmosphere, their own vibes, and it's like differ a lot from one another. So what trip made most of your impressions? So what was the most memorable trip for you?
Until now, I think that was the trip to Kizilorda, and in particular,
why so?
In particular to the Aral city. Being there and visiting the museum, seeing the people who were affected by this disaster in such a way that their entire lives have been uprooted, and at the same time they are surviving with what is still available, and that is something that really impressed me. That on the one hand, this disaster, at the same time, still boys in the street playing football.
Yeah, and, so life is going on.
Life is going on, and they still survive. They cope with it, and that doesn't mean that we have to close our eyes for what has happened there. I think that is a responsibility of bigger than Kazakhstan. That is really the regional, if not global, problem that we need to tackle.
And in terms of traditions, maybe rituals, maybe stand out in more symbolic ways. Well, what are the more vivid memory of the Kazakh traditions or rituals that you've observed here?
What I always like is all the particular dances, the music, the hospitality. When we have an event, then an entire village is working together to make that really festive. Putting yurts up, so that is really something very nice of Kazakhstan, to see all that and to get a taste of it. At the same time, in 1.5 years, it's very difficult to get all the nuances in those cultural things. So that is what I'm still learning and hope to explore further.
Have you taken part in some of the festivities or celebrations?
Exactly. We camped in a yurt last year.
So that was great. How was that experience?
Fantastic. Especially when the weather is like today, nice and sunny, and then at night you have the clear sky. You can open the yurt and look at the stars.
Yes, and with
again.
your love,
exactly.
Looking at stars. Yes.
So that is really something very nice.
So now let us dig more on personal notes. We are very interested in what does being a diplomat mean to you?
Whatever we do in terms of very important work at political level or business connections, etc., it's all very important, but it really comes down to people-to-people contacts, and that is when Dutch people in a foreign country are in trouble, in whatever problem it is.
Yes, it's all about serving your own people.
Yes. But at the same time, and that is, I think, what is something that diplomats like, and I do in any case in particular, is to get to know the country where you're a guest, the host country, and not as a tourist, but really from the inside out. and to meet people.
To have more in-depth
exactly, yeah.
view.
Yeah. And then you come to places where other people do not come, where tourists do not regularly come. You get to know people who are not perhaps internationally oriented. So you really connect to the country you're a guest, I think.
I think it's an exciting part of being a diplomat. Yes. When you know, it's like professionally connect, you know, people, like businesses and, you know, economies of two countries, and help people to get to know each other, right, on a personal level or business level. But what are the most challenging parts of your job of being a diplomat?
Well, sometimes you end in, or you can find yourself in very difficult positions. Sometimes the position of my country is completely opposite of the host country, and you have to engage in very difficult discussions with the government and sometimes with the people. And that makes it sometimes difficult. Or sometimes even your own country is standing or having a policy that is not necessarily in line with your personal opinions, and still you are a loyal civil servant, so you will do what your country asks you to do.
Yes.
It's not often, but it can happen.
It can happen. Yeah. And happily enough, we don't have such a case with in cooperation with Kazakhstan.
No, certainly not. No, I'm very glad, and that makes my life very easy. There's a lot to be gained, but we don't have many battles to fight.
What did you lead actually to the career of diplomat? So maybe you had some influence or like defining moment that you decided to become the one.
Yes, well, I always give this example when I'm talking to students in universities. I do a lot of presentations for students in Kazakh universities. And basically, when I started as a student, I started to study astronomy. I had a hobby to watch the stars.
Very interesting hobby, actually. Yeah,
indeed, and to learn about Milky Way and galaxies and black holes and supernovas and what have you. So I thought, let's study that. Unfortunately, I found out that mathematics was not really my thing. I liked all the other parts.
Yes, you're not alone in
no,
that.
that's what I also found out. But then I had to find something else. And then I started to realize, as a kid, I already was the one in the house to first catch the newspaper in the morning, to read the newspaper, and not starting on the front page, but I always started on page 4, where foreign policy was reported.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So as a kid, I was already interested in everything that happened in the world. And then I realized, why not studying international relations, political science? So I did. And I also remember my first lecture with my first professor there. I entered this big room, 500 students. In astronomy, we had only 10 or 15 at the most. And I saw all these students and I thought, wow, this is really big. But then the professor started his lecture, and it was, I think, about something in Eastern Europe, in the former Soviet Union, perhaps even about Kazakhstan.
Yes.
And I got goose pimples all over. Why? Because he was telling something, making an analysis of something that I read that morning in the newspaper. So then I thought, this is the place to be. The most important thing about relations between countries is people-to-people contacts. As governments we can talk, but if there are no people to connect, then the dialogue is empty. And when you have people-to-people contacts, then there will be business-to-business contacts. And when there is business-to-business contact, then the government-to-government becomes really important.
So it all starts from a personal level, and
exactly.
Then
and I think the role of a diplomat is to bring it back again to these people-to-people contacts, to connect people from Kazakhstan to the Netherlands. So we try to promote the Netherlands and to explain what we stand for, what you can find in the Netherlands. And the other way around, whenever I'm back in the Netherlands, then I'm your Kazakh ambassador in the Netherlands as well. And I promote Kazakhstan to the Dutch people.
What about trade and economy and business ties? What about export and imports statistics? How is it going so far?
I think it's going well. However, the situation in the world is not very helpful in boosting business between our two countries. At the same time, I expect that this will change again in the future. Dutch companies have found the way to Central Asia and to Kazakhstan. So in that regard, that will certainly boost again. If you look at the total figures, the Netherlands is by far the biggest foreign direct investor in your country, and that is not going to change in the years to come. If you look at the total amount of $120 billion that was invested from the Netherlands in the past 20 years, that is a tremendous amount, and that also gives an indication how close our nations are connected in economic terms. And I think what is also important to mention is that investments is one thing, trade is another, but I think the combination is so important. Dutch companies don't want to just sell a product and be gone again. They want to explore markets and become part of that market. So that is what we're also working on. Together with your government, we're trying to find ways to attract Dutch companies to invest in the Kazakh market and to really become part of your country.
What do you think are key strategic objectives of Netherlands' bilateral engagement with Kazakhstan, independently as a country, but also in the framework, in the EU framework as well?
Well, I think Kazakhstan and Central Asia are key partners for Europe. This is an important part of the world. We hope that we can foster our ties with Kazakhstan, with Central Asia in that regard. And I think that is also to benefit Kazakhstan in its multi-vector policy and to support it in that regard.
That's very important. And you see the dynamics behind the dialogue between the European Union and Central Asia is now strengthening. We see the big events with, political leadership from both sides are happening here in this region. So my question here is, in what ways do the Netherlands and EU enhance its efforts in engaging with the region?
I think what happened already, in any case from the Dutch perspective, my embassy is now responsible for 5 countries in the region.
Yes.
In the past, part of it was done from our embassy in Moscow. So we transferred that to Astana, and also that included the transfer of a defense attaché and an agricultural office from Moscow to Astana. That means that we can function much more as a regional hub and work together with Kazakhstan, but also the other 4 countries in forging ties between the Netherlands and those 5 countries. And we see this regional development also in your own region. More initiatives are starting, getting to fruition in this part of the world where the 5 countries work together, and we think that we can contribute to that. And the EU is doing exactly the same thing. So from our perspective, we are supporting that both from The Hague as well as in Brussels.
What do you think are the areas of cooperation which might be more perspective, has more potential in these partnerships, in this cooperation?
We're looking at the moment at critical raw materials.
Yes.
Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan have quite some resources in that regard. Dutch companies are not so much directly using that kind of materials, but of course we have an enormous IT industry that is further down the chain, certainly depending on those resources. So that is why we look with great interest in the developments in your country.
What are your expectations of how do you see this dialogue will progress in the future?
The resources are big, the quantities are substantial, and I think that from a European perspective, we're looking now into ways to get access to those resources together with your country. We have done a market study, so we're now looking into the possibilities of mobilizing Dutch companies to start cooperating with Kazakh companies. in exploring further activities. And yeah, the area is so huge and so technical that there will definitely be certain niches where also Dutch Kazakh companies will find a place.
So taking into account your work here, your living experiences here in Kazakhstan, your exploring of Kazakhstan and Central Asia, what would be your message to the people of this country and this region?
I think that I would like to mention that Kazakhstan is such a beautiful place. Be careful with it. Make sure you take care of it. And a small example, last weekend my wife organized with her NGO, that is an NGO, like-minded foundation, a cleanup in a lake here in the city where last year even flamingos were still spotted.
Yes, yes.
A very nice lake. We cleaned it up with a number of people, volunteers. And that was the spirit, to show that you have such a beautiful country, don't waste it. And whatever we can do to help, we're ready. But I think it's important that everyone realizes that what you do has an impact.